The Duviri Paradox is Warframe's fourth open-world zone controlled by the emotional king Dominus Thrax. This open world and the quests associated with it are accessible by both veteran and new players of Warframe. In this zone, you'll be able to experience 5 spirals, each with a unique story based on Dominus Thrax's emotional state, decrees, which are roguelike elements that offer randomized upgrades during a session in the Duviri, a customizable mount known as Kaith, a host of side activities that include Maw fishing, finding hidden collectibles, beast conservation, much to be discovered, and taking on the notable Orowyrm Boss fights. The reason for doing this open world zone as a veteran of Warframe is to get access to cosmetics, arcanes, intrinsics for your drifter, which when upgraded will be usable outside of the Duviri, and also count towards your personal mastery rank, new weapons for both your drifter and your frames, and Incarnon geneses, which turn beloved but forgotten weapons into more powerful versions of themselves. For new players, a reason for doing this open world zone is that it offers an alternative way to get frames, mods, test out a variety of equipment, and a new way to experience the mechanics of how Warframe operates as a whole. To fully access this open world, you must complete the Duviri Paradox quest. For all players, there are no prerequisites to access this quest, given that you are not on a restricted segment of another quest such as the New War. It will be immediately available to you upon logging into the game, which can be found in your navigation console in the top right corner. For brand new players, you will be given 2 choices. The Warframe path, which will begin you as a Warframe exploring the origin system, which is the traditional start that most Warframe players have experienced, and the Paradox, which is the alternative path, beginning you as a drifter, a wanderer who will discover the power of Warframes and the bizarre world of the Duviri. No matter the choice, both paths will eventually connect, and if you choose the Warframe path, you will be able to access the Duviri after the Vor's prize quest. And if you choose the Paradox path, you will be able to explore the origin system after finishing the Duviri Paradox quest. This quest is fairly straightforward, introducing you to Dominus Thrax and his emotional states, the open world itself, your mount Kaith, drifter intrinsics, this mode's roguelike elements, and various activities you will be participating in when you eventually finish the Duviri Paradox. When completed, you will obtain your very own Kaith mount to use in the Duviri, the Sun and Moon melee weapon for your drifter, along with a blueprint to be built back on your orbiter for your frames, a stance mod for said weapon, and full access to the 3 different ways to experience the Duviri. The circuit is the traditional game mode Warframe players are used to, with familiar mission types they've come to expect. In this mode, you will not be in the open world, but instead Duviri's Undercroft, which solely focuses on an endless series of stages that include defense, survival, excavation, void flood, and exterminate stages. Before entering the circuit, you will be given a choice to choose one of 3 frames to progress towards obtaining in a given week. These choices cycle every week during the weekly reset. The frames that will cycle are all frames that have prime variants available, or those not accessible via your clan's dojo. This list is subject to change as Warframe updates and more frames get added to the game. When making your choice, choose wisely, as you will be stuck with that decision until Sunday's weekly reset. With your frame selected, you will be able to see the full view of your reward tiers for the given week, which include blueprints for your selected frame, mods, arcanes, and a variety of other items. When in the circuit and completing a stage, you will notice below your circuit progress, filling up towards unlocking one of the tier's rewards. You will be given a choice to continue battling more stages, or extract. If you continue, each stage will progressively get more challenging, but will reward you more circuit points, and at stage 4 will reward a one-time daily bonus of 50 circuit progress. And after, stage 5 and on, you will be rewarded with 170 circuit progress for each stage until you decide to extract. When reaching the final tier of your rewards, you will be rewarded with a blueprint for your chosen frame, and if you continue to play the circuit before the weekly reset, you will receive either credits or endo for unlocking the further tiers. For veteran players who have finished the star chart and unlocked the steel path, you can set yourself to this mode before selecting the circuit and will be given an alternative choice to choose 2 out of 5 Incarnon Genesis adapters. Currently, there are a total of 30 adapters which can be acquired. This is subject to change as Warframe updates and more Incarnon adapters get added to the game. Each week these weapons cycle to 5 different weapons after the weekly reset. Like with the previously mentioned reward path, you will be locked into this path for the week until the weekly reset, so choose wisely. In addition, be aware of the order you select these adapters, as this will determine the tier at which you unlock them in your reward path. Once selected, you will be able to view your reward tier for the given week, which includes arcanes, ribbons, steel essence, and a variety of other items. When completing a stage, you will receive the same amount of circuit progress as previously mentioned, but will require higher amounts per tier to unlock the steel path rewards. If you continue to play after obtaining your Tier 10 reward, you will receive Endo, Credits, and Duviri Arcanes. When rewarded with an adapter, it will be added to your inventory, and you will be able to install it on a weapon variant of your choice. If you own the multiple variants of a given weapon, you can only apply your adapter to one of these versions. If you want to apply adapters to the other variants, you will have to wait until the given weapon shows up in the following weeks during the next rotation. To install an adapter on your weapon variant, you must have completed the Angels of the Zariman quest to gain access to the NPC Cavallero. Once completed, equip your weapon and bring it to Cavallero, who will apply the adapter to your weapon if you have the given Duviri Resources, which we will cover how to obtain these resources in detail later. Once the adapter is applied, you will have to complete challenges to unlock its evolutions. The Lone Story game mode takes place inside the Duviri's open world, but is without any of the side objectives like Maw Fishing, Beast Conservation, etc. Your main focus will be on the Spirals, which are story objectives guided by the citizens of the Duviri. There are a total of 5 spirals, each being based on Dominus Thrax's emotional states. These spirals determine the look and atmosphere of the open world, and determine what status elements the enemies within the Duviri will use against you. These 5 spirals will change the landscape on a 2-hour cycle. When in this game mode, you will be participating in the same variety of objectives you interacted with for the introductory quest, but if you make it to the final stage, you will battle the spiral's Orowyrm Boss, which requires you to mount your horse and make your way to the boss. You will notice during your approach, projectiles coming in your direction, which you can hit with your Orvis weapon that will give you a temporary speed boost towards the boss. When you are close, you will be able to grapple yourself to the side of the Orowyrm. Be aware that when grappled to the boss, it will send energy rings after you, trying to knock you off of it. Avoid these by jumping off and grappling to the next blue spot. Your goal is to grapple yourself towards the head of the worm. If you are playing this on Steel Path, you will have to turn these plates to make them all face the same direction, indicated by the UI in the top left corner. Once all these plates are in the same direction, grapple yourself towards the head of the boss, where you will be able to temporarily take control of the worm. Once in control, take this worm to these posts and destroy them. Once all are destroyed, make your way through the portal, where you will face the final phase of this boss. During this phase, the worm will be doing AoE attacks that you have to avoid while shooting these 3 rings. Once these rings are destroyed, the boss will become stunned and spawn enemies that you have to kill to progress to the next stage. This process will repeat 2 more times until the boss is destroyed, unlocking a chest which will reward 10 Pathos Clamps and 15 intrinsic points. If you are doing the Steel Path variant of the Lone Story, the only difference is that when facing the boss fight, it will have additional mechanics. One which includes mounting your Kaith, which spawns in the middle of the arena, which you must escape on from the worm AoE attack and defeat a certain amount of lesser worms to progress to the next phase. Once the Orowyrm is destroyed, you will be rewarded with 22 intrinsics and 15 Pathos Clamps. The Duviri experience is essentially the same as the Lone Story. It will take place in the open world with the same variety of stages to complete the spiral story. But instead, you can choose to ignore these stages and focus on the side objectives that this open world offers. With each side objective completed, you will be given a one-time reward during your current session on the Duviri that will include a decree, 3 intrinsic points, and Duviri Resources. There is Maw Feeding, which can be started at transference pads near bodies of water, where you will take control of a maw, feeding away on fish. When completed, you will be rewarded with the 3 fishing resources, Pebbles, Scales, and Fangs. This side objective can be repeated for farming these resources. There is Beast Conservation, which will be alerted to you by a citizen of the Duviri, where your goal is to sneak up and heal a beast, triggering a quick time event. Or if you alert the beast, you will have to shoot away these orbs corrupting them, triggering the quick time event. There is Shawzin playing, which requires you to follow a series of button presses in sync to play a song. There are a total of 12 Shawzin Songs throughout the Duviri that when each are completed on their Virtuoso difficulty, you will be awarded with the courtly Shawzin. There is a handy picture on reactor.net detailing the general location you can hope to find each of these objectives. There is Komi, a board game where the goal is to place stones around enemy stones to capture them, all while trying to block enemies from surrounding your own stones. The first to capture 10 stones wins. There are also chests found throughout the open world, either requiring you to hack them or fight off enemies. There are also collectibles throughout the open world known as the Lost Fragments of the Duviri, that when fully collected will reward 5 intrinsic points. You can view your progress for the fragments in your codex or in your Dormizone. There is a valuable resource made by a user on Reddit detailing the general location of each of these fragments. And there are Enigmas, which are puzzles found across the open world, with some being done solo or requiring a squad mate. You can tell if an Enigma needs a squad mate if it requires 2 players to open the doors on the obelisks, revealing the symbols required to unlock its rewards. These puzzles usually include finding glyph plates and throwing them into buckets and then firing your weapon at them to make their symbols match with the obelisks. If you manage to successfully solve the puzzle, you will get a variety of Duviri resources and a chance to obtain the resource Enigma Gyrum and the blueprint and component parts for the primary bow, the Cinta. These puzzles are the only way to obtain both of those rewards. It is important to note that the spirals not only affect the atmosphere and the elements enemies will use against you, but it will also affect certain points of interest, which are islands that can be discovered on the map. These islands are the Archarbor, that will only appear during the spiral's joy, envy, and sorrow. And the Amphitheater will only appear during the spiral's joy, envy, anger, and fear. Within the Archarbor, you can discover an Enigma puzzle that, when completed, will reward a variety of resources and a chance for the blueprint and components for the Cinta weapon. There is a user on Reddit detailing the steps in order to complete this puzzle, and the general enigmas found throughout the Duviri. View this resource if you need help solving these puzzles. Within the Amphitheater, you can find a Shawzin side objective if you are after completing all 12 for the courtly Shawzin. Like with Warframe's other open worlds, the Duviri has its own unique resources that can be obtained from these side objectives and even found in containers throughout the open world. There are far too many resources to cover where to obtain in this video, but a valuable picture posted by a user on Reddit detailed the general locations where you can hope to find each of these resources. In addition, the resources Rune Marrow can only be obtained from containers found at the Circuit or the Undercroft, and Pathos Clamps can only be obtained by defeating an Orowyrm Boss at the end of either the Lone Story or the Duviri experience. All of these resources will be used to make a variety of items in your foundry, including melee weapon blueprints for your frames, the Cinta weapon blueprint, and Incarnon Genesis adapters. As more Incarnon adapters get added to the game, each adapter will require different amounts of these resources to be applied to your weapons. There is a vendor known as Acrithis, who can be found in your Dormizone after an Orowyrm boss fight and throughout the open world indicated by this icon. This vendor sells a variety of items in exchange for Pathos Clamps and Duviri resources. I personally wouldn't recommend buying any of the Origin System resources, such as Morphix, as these resources can easily be obtained by playing through the star chart. When you start any of these game modes, you will choose your loadout in Teshin's cave. Within this cave are randomly generated choices for your frames, primary, secondary, and melee weapons. These options available to you are equipment you already own, with at least one of each of these options being equipment you do not yet own. If there are unowned options available to you, they will always be their base version, not the prime versions or the variants of a weapon. For example, you will be provided the base Heck, not the Vacor Heck or the Kuva Heck. If you are Mastery Rank 3 or below, only a select few frame options will be available to you. As you go beyond this Mastery rank, the full list of frames will become available for you to try out within this cave. You can configure each equipment's mods based on the default options the game provides for you, or you can use your mod configs that you set up back in your arsenal on your Orbiter, which will include your Arcanes, Archon Shards, and Helmuth abilities and Invigorations. Within this cave, you can also view your intrinsic progression and spend your points with the higher opportunity rank, giving you more equipment options within the cave. You can also customize the appearance of your mount and drifter, test your equipment out on the dummy, and even buy a new melee weapon for your drifter and the blueprints to be built in your foundry for your frames. To buy these weapons, it will require either Pathos Clamps obtained from the Orowyrm boss fights, or for Platinum, which is the real-world currency exchange for in-game currency. Once you spend some time in Teshin's cave and configure your loadout, you can head out through the main portal and experience all the content this update offers through these 3 game modes. And finally, if you're a veteran of Warframe, I hope this walkthrough has helped you and you are enjoying Warframe's 4th open world. If you're a new player, I'm sure all this information has been overwhelming, but if you just dive into the game and make small goals for yourself, you will soon discover the fun and rewarding gameplay that Warframe offers. If I am missing anything covering the Duviri Paradox, please feel free to leave a comment and let other players know about it. Please like, share, and comment if you have any questions or if you'd like me to make guides on anything else about Warframe. Or if you need help live, you can watch me on Twitch every Thursday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Good luck and enjoy yourselves.